The way we see the problem is a very valuable quote from Stephen Covey, author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is day 4 of my 90-day challenge for creating content that I need to learn. And so I am following the advice that I got from Tony Robbins that we teach what we most need to learn, and following the process that I've outlined in previous videos about using the Feynman method to be able to understand things more deeply. And so this whole concept of the way we see the problem is really fundamental to running a building business or any small business, really. Because what I've noticed in my many years of interacting with businesses, and in the last 10 years, builders specifically, is that more often than not, we look for a solution to a problem, and we think we find the solution to the problem, and sometime down the track, the solution to the problem we were trying to fix either didn't work or didn't stick long term. So as I said before, we bought a coaching program or a course or a bit of software or something like that in the hope that it was going to fix all of our issues. But the fundamental issue here is that we're not really understanding what the problem is that we're trying to fix. As an example, last week we were all in Perth, all of our Black Belt members, and we were running through this concept. And what I asked our members to do was to break up into what we call roundtable mastermind. So into small groups, 4 or 5 people on each table, and each person has a turn to put their problem that they'd like solved in the middle of the table, explain what the problem is, explain how they'd like it to be, explain what they've already considered, and then everybody else has the opportunity to contribute ideas and experience and perhaps recommend resources or whatever to give them multiple solutions to fix their problem. And we've done this for a long time. But because I became suspicious that we're not really identifying the problem, therefore the solution that we think is going to fix it more often than not doesn't fix it, at least long term. So I'd thought this had been happening. And so we did an experiment, and I did this roundtable mastermind. And after we'd spent 45 minutes or however long it was going around everybody, like all of the groups had finished, we came back in as a group, and I asked each individual, what was the problem that you put on the table and what was the best solution you got from your group? And I would write down the problem, I would write down the solution. Then we had a break, and then we came back and did another session and understanding this process that we've created about really trying to identify the problem. So what we then did was went through a process that I designed to really identify what the problem is. And 100% of the time, when we went through this process, each person identified that the problem that they thought they had was actually not the problem, but they were able to identify the actual problem. And it was a revelation. It was amazing. And then we went away and did another roundtable mastermind with that in mind. So the first part of the process was to help the person that put the problem on the table really dive deep and identify what the actual problem was, not the apparent problem, and then offer solutions to fix that. And the really interesting thing was that when we went back and looked at every single solution that was given in the first roundtable mastermind, everything was systems based. Everything fell under the system. And I guess I need to explain something a little bit further, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing these videos, is to help make this better and more succinct and easier to follow. That we identified that there are 3 levels or areas that you've got to go through to have a successful business. Now, everybody wants to gain some level of financial freedom and time freedom, so they want to be able to delegate stuff off their plate, because most business owners are a prisoner to their business and they don't get enough free time. And scaling for freedom is a goal for every business owner, being able to get things off their plate, but still have everything done by systems or other people, so they're not quite so under the pump. So we want that. And we think that the solution to it is a system. So we systemize to be able to scale for freedom. But there is one other part to this, and that's stabilize. And stabilize is all about identifying the beliefs and the behaviours that you're exhibiting that are causing this problem in the first place. And by unpacking this and doing this stabilize piece, we identify what the real problem is, as I've just described. And quite often, just by being able to identify what the actual problem is, there is no solution necessary sometimes, because we go, no wonder I was doing this, or no wonder I was driven to try and fix this. And when they understand that the way they were looking at the problem with their beliefs caused certain behaviours which actually caused the problem, we change those beliefs, change the paradigm, and the problem doesn't exist anymore, so you don't need a solution. That happens sometimes, but other times there needs to be work on the changing of the belief and the changing of the behaviour. But at least now we know what the problem is, and we can find the solutions that address it. And once you address that, then you can go look at systems to be able to make things happen repeatedly, regularly, reliably. And then when you've built that, you can figure out who you can give it to or how you can get that system to happen. We say find a loving home for that activity, for that system. So you're not the person responsible all the time. So you get into that scale for freedom piece. But it was really interesting that a group of very smart people with an absolute desire to help another person by default always came up with solutions that were systems based, and they didn't understand what the problem was. But because we created these simple steps in the stabilized piece, so we taught everybody the stabilized piece, they then were able to identify the real problem, and it either went away or they were able to supply or help with a number of solutions that actually addressed the fundamental problem, and it was absolutely profound. So a couple of things to take away from this is, if you have a problem, the first thing you've got to do is stabilize, then systemize, then you've got an opportunity to scale for freedom. But if you go straight to, I've got a problem, what's the system to fix it? More often than not, it doesn't fix it, and if it doesn't last, and because of that, you can never then move to the scale for freedom, because there is a fundamental flaw in the way that you're doing it. So it makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you. I'm going to review the video and see if it made sense the way I explained it. I'd love your comments. I'd love any critique. More than anything, if this is making sense, because part of why I'm doing all of this content creation is that I believe that I've really created something that is so powerful that can be implemented into any small business. You don't have to be a builder, any business at all. And it can make a profound effect on the investments that you've already made, such as investing in software or previous training or coaching or whatever it might be. This will help get significantly more value out of everything you've already invested time and money into, and it will really give you a sense of control. And if that is something that you're interested in unpacking, I'm happy just to jump on a Zoom or what have you and have a conversation, because I'd love to pull together a group of people who are into this and really want to implement it into their business and create a mastermind group, if you like. So if that's something you're interested in and unpacking this and having a convo about it, just reach out to me through LinkedIn and we'll be talking and see where it takes us. No harm, no foul. Sounds like a great idea to me. I look forward to your comments and look forward to you reaching out, and let's have a conversation. See you in the next video.